Okay, people. So today I am joined by writer and director of Chad Gets the Axe. It is Travis Bibble. Bibble?
It's Bible, like the book. I know.
Okay. All right.
Great horror director, last name, right? So
All right, it's Travis Bible, people. Travis, thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate that. How is everything with you, my friend?
it's great. We're finally, about to get Chad Gets the Axe out the door. So as fun as the shooting and the year and a half in post has been, I think it's good to get it out there to the world. So yeah, feeling good.
Yes, that final stretch must feel good, but a little anxious as well. Like, what has the early reaction been to the film? Did you do the festival circuit?
Yeah, it's been really good. The you're always we premiered at Film Quest last fall, and it was like it played in like the first 10 minutes. It was just like not really any laughs. People weren't quite sure what they were watching. They're like, "Oh, are we supposed to like this obnoxious spicy Steve guy?" Like, and then once they started reading the comments more and getting it, then it like absolutely killed and people loved it. And that led us to get invited to Fright Fest over on, in Scotland. And that played really good. And we had a Los Angeles screening. So yeah, our theatrical screenings have been great. Which is interesting because, it's a movie on phones. So it's like, oh, this will be just as fun to watch on phones. But actually now that I've seen it in theaters playing with the audience and everyone kind of laughing and being scared together, I'm like, man, I wish we'd had a bigger theatrical release for it. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to get it out. And yeah, so far reactions have been good with getting the laughs and the scares.
That's good. That's good, man. I feel like a big screen is good because of the comment section, right? And because
Yeah.
that's scrolling, a bigger screen, you get to see that a bit more. I don't know.
I will say this, and it's one thing I realized from a short film. I can get into that later. That was initially based on a short, but anyway, one thing I did realize was the nice thing, as weird as it sounds, about watching it on a phone, is it does feel more real, and
Yeah,
it you
yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
do the way the phone is set up, to me at least, and my wife would disagree, it's easier to get that, like your eyes can see the comments, and it's fine. I'm taking out the phone. Yeah, have you seen any? But anyway, it's easier to read it all at once, the comments, and get the visuals when you're watching on that smaller screen. So I can see the benefits to both, but there is something really cool about seeing it with a group in the theater too.
Well, yeah, it is designed to feel like you are watching a stream. So it does make sense that it would definitely work. And you get that kind of vibe on a phone that you are actually watching this stream, which, gotta say, the people watching the stream, not that cool. Not that cool.
Yeah, they're. I mean, yeah, which is kind of by design, and it's they're we really tried to play with like different characters for all the people watching the stream and make them each have kind of their own identity, and maybe some of them are cool, but in general they're I think as you get further into it, they're kind of just as bad as Chad. But it was fun playing around with it. Like there's certain characters we really leaned into, and we kind of figured this out a little more in post. Like we're like, oh, what if we had like a true crime podcaster, and we put like Murder Maven in there, and she's
Mm.
just obsessed with the true crime aspect. And if you look at it, pretty, she doesn't really give a fuck about chat. Like she's not worried about him. She's just like, oh, there's a cool murder in the basement. Here's this, here, and then you have like other social media personalities who are basically just rooting for Chad. You have all the other commenters who are also just kind of rooting for Chad and don't really care about them. And then we tried to put just random stuff, whether it's like the chemistry teacher who doesn't understand what eat means, to the very high class humor of a guy named Peter PP just saying "show feet" every time. So we really tried to hit with a variety of comments going on in it.
Which, I thought was great because, yeah, like if you joined certain live streams for anything, the amount of randomness that will come up is insane. And then you've got the people that are with someone regardless of anything, right? And then people
Yep.
that are interested in, a little segment of what's gone on. So, it did feel like a stream, which was, yeah, I like that aspect of it. I thought that was great.
Thank you. When you were watching, did you find yourself reading or watching the footage more?
I mean, I got bad eyesight, Travis, so I missed a lot of what was going on the stream, but I did catch a few things, and the things I caught made me laugh. So that was,
Good.
that was fine. Yeah, it,
Nice.
it, it worked in that because yeah, I never really see comments in those sorts of things anyway. So it's always just catching something
Little
now and
glimpses,
then.
yeah, to give a little
Yeah.
flavor. Yeah, yeah. Nice.
But I did think that everyone had it felt like everyone had their own distinct personality, which was good because, I think sometimes when you're creating something that is dealing with the current generation and social media influencers and all of that, people just tend to make them all a bit the same, you know like
Yeah.
so I thought it was nice that everyone was different. And even with like with Steve, the way he comes off at the start, it changes a lot, especially when he comes in with Chad. So you do get that different kind of vibe from everyone. Jennifer and Spence are different together and apart. So I thought, what I mean, the character work was handled very well. Like,
Thank you. Yeah, the same way to the comments, we try to define our leads is different, and Steve is kind of just like that's not really who he is. He's just trying to get the followers, and um, Jennifer and Spencer have their thing, but we tried to give Jennifer's actually trying to get away from Spencer, which is kind of like a buried subplot. But if you look into it and look at some comments going on with it, then that's kind of going on. And then I mean, obviously Chad is the lead. Super. First of all very super talented actors. I'm very lucky to have that cast. But with Chad, me and Spencer is the actor who plays Chad, to make it extra confusing. But anyway, it was really important to give him some depth too, and show that what he's doing isn't great, but he is putting thought into it. He is marketing it, and and in the end, I think a lot of people around him, including like the frat guys and his cousin and stuff, are actually worse than him. So the goal at the end is hopefully that maybe you do feel a little bad for Chad, and it's not just pure like Schadenfreude, like yeah he's dead, But that being said, if you want to just root for him to die and have fun with it, then that's great. And I feel like it's interesting. We haven't had tons of screenings, but the audience at, for instance, Fright Fest, I think was very gleeful to just kind of enjoy watching these influencers kind of get their comeuppance and just eating it up. And I feel like the Los Angeles screening, there was maybe a little more empathy and sympathy towards the last third at points. But, there's no wrong way to watch the movie though, so I'm down for however you want to go with it.
But I do think that is a thing. However obnoxious some of these people are, there is that humanity. So you do see these different aspects of someone's personality all the way through. So even if you just think, oh God, they are so irritating, then you get that glimpse behind the curtain, you'll be like, actually, okay, I
Yeah.
can see in a different context this person could be okay, or oh, they got nice points, or you know what I mean. So I thought that was because yeah, I think if they're just straight annoying, that works. That can be fun, right? But when there's those other elements, that other depth, it then does add that little bit extra to the viewing experience and how you are following that person and seeing what happens to them all the way through.
Yeah. No, for sure. And we try to, give all the characters depth. And that's why, casting was so important to get, these people who could play multi-dimensional. You can't, I don't think you can watch Logan Paul type or whatever for 83 minutes. I think you need a little more nuance going on with the character. And that's also why we kind of casted. That's why Spencer was great, because he doesn't necessarily look like kind of your jacked up influencer you might frat boy influencer. I think he even has a different look. And with stepping into the camera work a little, even the characters, the way they filmed, they all kind of had their own style that we kind of worked with the actors, and the actors kind of came up with, where Spencer and Mike, the guys, Spicy Steve and Chad, the actors playing them, were a little more Blair Witchy, chaotic or whatever. But when Tanisha, the actress playing Jennifer, she was just honestly better. She was a cinematographer. She had much more stable shots, and it kind of worked for the characters for what they were trying to do. So even things like that, I thought they all kind of defined themselves, and then we all got them, like, they all had their own merch. Chad had his stuff, Spicy Steve had his stuff, even Jen had, we made it, like, she had the Java Jen coffee. So we tried to, because branding is so big on all these influencers, yes. So we try to create our own stuff for them too. So
yeah, how much time did it take to develop those different characters? And then when you actually, this is like a multi-part question. Like, it's developing of the characters, right? But then it's what did that look like in your head going into the casting? Because it's just like, did you think, okay, this person is going to be this tall, this color hair, or was it more of a vibe you were going for when you actually hit that casting? And then how much work did you do with them to then further flesh out the character?
Well, yeah, that's a good multi-part. All right. So to start with, it is based on a short I did. And so back in the day, I was doing a short with it back in, it's like 2019, so not that back. But so we're shooting, and we had some people try out, and we had, like I said, a lot of alpha males that actually kind of were the part. And then Spencer came and just destroyed it. In fact, that it was I was like, can you be more douchey? That was where I had to push him, and he nailed that. Like, he literally had to do one more cast. He sent me one more tape where he's like around a pool just being as douchey as possible. I'm like, all right, you got this. It's kind of like that. I'll get extra nerdy with you for a second, Kevin. I don't know how much you're into sci-fi, but
oh yeah, big.
There's an original Star Trek episode, where they went to like the dark universe or whatever, and Spock had the goatee or whatever. And I think,
oh god,
great. You learned that all evil people wear goatees, and that's so we had that. And anyway, I think the theme at the end, I think Kirk said something to the effect that, it's easier for a civilized person to pretend to be savage than a savage person to pretend to be civilized. And that was kind of the thought behind casting Spencer Levin to be Chad. It was easier for, a sympathetic guy who's nailing like the drama and the likability parts to pretend to be extra douchey than the guys who kind of came. I'm not saying they're super friendly, the people who tried out, but than someone who's already full influencer, than to rein it in and be sympathetic.
That makes sense.
So we went with him, and the short did quite well, which was awesome. Got some traction with like Vimeo staff pick, and played in some festivals and stuff. So that was helping me get funding for a feature. And then what's interesting, we had to figure out like what was going on with the feature, and how to kind of like you were just saying, we wanted the characters to be separate. So initially I was kicking it around, and like, we didn't want two Chads or whatever. So I was working with my co-writer Kimmerton Hargrove, and we were like, okay, we need to like box this out. So what if Spicy Steve, instead of being even a bigger douche than Chad, was actually kind of a wannabe who looked up to Chad? And so that was our thought with him. And I'll just kind of go through each person. So with Spicy Steve, he was supposed to be kind of more from a small town. The guy who originally, the guy who we casted for it, super talented guy as well, Michael Benini, he actually read for one of the toxic frat guys. And he did that. And I'm like, I just feel like this guy can do a little more. So we sent him the sides for Spicy Steve. He nailed it. And working with him, the main thing with him is that dude is so extroverted, friendly, like confident guy that I kind of had to work with him for his character to bring it down and be like, no, you're less confident, and really jazz Spencer up and be like, look, you are the alpha in this. Get in his face, get it. Like, I don't care if he's physically a little bigger than you. You have to own him. And they work together. And I think they did a great job pulling it off, where you feel like Michael or Spicy Steve kind of has almost this like doofus energy, but in the end, he is a good guy, and has an arc, and then he suffers for his feeling bad. And then finally, yeah, you got Jennifer and Spencer. We're having a lot of people read initially for Jennifer, but they weren't quite tracking. Then Spencer, who plays Chad, he was like, I know a girl that I think could be good. And we sent her the sides, and she just completely nailed it, completely got the part, understood that this is an influencer, but also we worked with her, and it was her idea too, to really make sure that Jennifer wasn't just like you guys, and like wasn't just the girl just reacting to the guys, and that had her own identity, was really pushing and just as alpha as Chad. And she probably is the biggest or the second biggest influencer character there. And so that's what Tanisha and I worked on, and she did such a good job making sure that it's Jen's world, and you could do a whole movie with each of these people, which I think is great. And I'm like, I was sat like Jennifer, when seeing what Tanisha did with Jennifer, I'm like, damn, I wish we hadn't killed her so soon. So everybody, and then of course, Cam, who played Spencer, was great. He just really, got what the character was, understood. Once again, we tried to be very in depth, but I feel like Spinifer, especially Spencer, in that the character was a little more of the comedic relief, and I think Cam really got that. Has great timing, was willing to do whatever, was excited to have a pentagram carved in his chest or whatever. So yeah, he was great. So yeah, overall, I hope that kind of goes through it. But yeah, we did work to define each character, and I think it came together, and because each character kind of has to stand on their own as you kind of pass off this story stick or whatever. It wasn't like a game. You used to like hand the story stick. Each person's telling it from their perspective, and each person kind of gets their chance to shine and kind of take over the camera. And that was really exciting to me, to help keep the feature interesting for 82 minutes.
Yeah, I thought that was a good way of doing it, because you do wonder, right? It's like, oh, so we following these 4 people around, like, how's this gonna work? But then it's splitting them up, and then it's just doing all of that kind of thing. You do get to give everyone their moments to shine. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I'm glad that worked for you. One of our niche, after I did the short, one of the initial things. Did you watch Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror?
Oh,
Choose Your Own
yeah, yeah,
Adventure?
yeah, yeah.
I fucking love that. So I'm like, dude, what if this is the future? Everything's gonna be interactive by 2021, right? So I got Kimmerton and I wrote an interactive version. We even did a story tree for the first part, and the idea was you would be following, you choose your influencer, but you could live switch in between.
Ooh.
You would make the decision, and the comments would kind of influence that. And we got some pretty decent meetings with it, and everyone's like, this is so cool, and we don't do this, but we'd love to watch it. And so we kind of ended up going back to the feature. But it was definitely that's kind of why going into the feature, since we'd already gamed it out, like literally mapped out what would happen if the story was continuous for each person. We knew for the feature we wanted to keep these moments, and so that's we kind of parsed it down a little, but yeah, making sure each person got their point of view and you could be with be with the different characters throughout the movie.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been fun. That
Mm-hmm.
definitely would have been fun to do it a choose your own adventure style. Like how much fun was it to create all those different brands for the different characters and the tones and the different dress, the wardrobes and everything like that?
It was fun. It was interesting looking at some big influencers, seeing what people are doing. So for Chad, we'd already made his brand. We had a very one of our very talented art guy, Andrew DeWitt, who helped for the short. He made a bunch of stuff. Uh, signed off on it. Didn't realize we made a feature. Invited him to the Los Angeles screening last week. He shows up and he's like, "Holy shit, my stuff!" Like he's wearing the Komodo hoodie on the poster. Like, wow, I didn't. He's like, "This is so cool." But yeah. So we kind of had Chad's. We thought I had worked with Andrew and on this, and we're like, what if it's just like a Komodo dragon smoking a blunt? It's Komodo dope, like the dumbest thing ever, and we're like Chad peeing. I tried to think of the stupidest song, and it was like, "You're better than a champ, better than a champ. You're a Chad, you're a Chad, you're a Chad peeing." And we sent that out to the world and got a composer was like, "Sure, I'll take a crack at this." So yeah, even just having people's songs and stuff was fun. And then yeah, like initially Jennifer was very rough. Like Emma Chamberlain was a slight inspiration for her. So she has a big coffee brand. So we're like, okay, Java Gin could work. And yeah, Spicy Steve was, that wasn't that hard. Made some spicy shirts, but it was kind of fun to make these. And I don't know what happened. Oh, I think we gave most of it. So we had, I think we're going to send some of the stuff to influencers, do some fun unboxing. But yeah, it was like lots of these props we ended up giving out at Fright Fest because the fans there. So remember the director Paul came out wearing like a Spicy Steve shirt, a Chad Pean hat. The festival director, like he's like, "This stuff's great, thanks." So we were able to repurpose lots of our props and brand stuff and give it out as swag to people at the festivals and stuff. So that was fun.
Oh man, yo, what would have been great is if all of them had their own social media channels in the build
Dude,
up
yeah.
to the film.
That is such a great idea, and we wanted to do it. It's just the work. I'll tell you, I got a decent story. We did try to create a Chad Ryan one on TikTok, and it got flagged immediately because the Komodo dragon smoking a blunt, and I think that account got banned. And so now we're still looking at revisiting it, but yeah, we wanted it. It does fit in that, and we still might try to revisit that some because I think there's a thing that Chad character does that's hinted at in the feature. It's also in the short called Pizza Ninja, where he dresses up as a ninja and just takes pizza out of people's hands. And I'm like, that's a viral video waiting to happen. So we do think that's a great idea if we could have like social for each of them or something, because I think there's enough content for sure. I think, or enough going on with the characters they could do. Sure.
Oh yeah, and it's a fun way to kind of market the film as well and make it interactive for people.
For sure.
Like when you were doing the short, was it always the intention to make a feature from it?
No, I wasn't quite sure how when it would have been. Like I just was really set on the short of doing a continuous 12-minute take, and we did end up having like 3 cuts in the short or whatever, but playing around with comments and just really trying to do this influencer horror type thing. And once I'm trying to think when I did it, it was fun, but even then I was like, wow. And keep in mind, this is 12 minutes. We were like, wow, these comments are tons of work. This would be really hard to do if the movie was longer. So we shot it, and and like I said, the short, one of the things that I thought was so important at the time for the short was doing the shitty influencer version of 1917, where it was like really felt one continuous shot, and I wouldn't let Spencer at the time, because it was like 2018, 19, you couldn't flip the camera and like Instagram is in like, you know, there's that button you press where automatically will flip the camera. So you're doing a POV mode. For the short, I made him literally, if we wanted to do that, he had to do this and aim the camera out. So it was like even harder for him because by the time we got the feature, we were able to shoot double coverage and shoot a POV mode and do it in edit. But in the short, it was like really about minimizing edits, and we put all that together, and it played, and the scares landed, and the comments landed, and people were laughing. And what I kind of realized is people could care less that it all played as one shot. I mean, I'm sure that in this their subconscious was like, this is cool, but that's not what people were responding to. And yeah, it did well. And once you have that, you get a lot of feedback, you know, when you're getting that positive feedback, like, this is great. Can you do more? And that kind of is what, like, well, maybe we could do a feature. Maybe if we, you know, added more characters and put some more stuff going on and, you know, still kept it relatively short. And I think that's where we're at to do the feature. And then, you know, we eventually, you know, probably should talk about the 1,300 comments we had to write for the feature. So that was, I don't know. And, you know, we knew from the short, like I said, like we in the short, we knew it was hard for 12 minutes. So in Kimmerton and I, for the feature, we wrote probably 20 pages of comments. Like, this will be plenty. And then we get, you know, to the feature and post, and our 20 pages disappeared like that. Like, it was just like 20% at most. And we're like, we still need tons of comments. So Kimmerton and I ended up writing maybe 80% of them, but from our post producer, Mike Nicholas, jumped in and started helping a lot. And then for the last 10, 15% of the comments, we were literally like outsourcing to people, like, hey, watch a rough cut of this movie in any voice you want, yours or others, write some comments. And we had some really good ones, and we had some people who were not so good, but that was able to help fill it in and give us some more unique voices by outsourcing comments. I think I kind of strayed off the original little question there, but, you know.
No. This is all fascinating. This is the point of this, man. It's getting that, you know what I mean, just insight into everything that went down. So, hey, we can veer in any direction you want to go. So, like, yeah, when you then were thinking, right, this went down well, like, we could expand this, right? And knowing we need more characters, but there's oversaturation, right? There's like going too many or too few. So how did you kind of settle on the 4?
I think I think at one point it was 3, and then we decided we wanted Jennifer to still be about Jennifer, not about Spencer, but we did think a couple would make sense. So I think we did throw Spencer in them, but I think 4 is about the max we could do without it getting too cluttered and trying to track too many people. Because one thing I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and now it just seems like, oh, of course it worked, was with the short, it was one guy, right? One there, one camera. So with the feature, what is that? And I think I told the initial interactive version where you could literally watch a live stream of each person, that was going to be each one would have their camera. But when we realized it was a feature, we're like, okay, we don't want 4 cameras going around, and then 4 people are going to be talking over each other. Like that just was craziness. So then we kind of reworked it where, you know, Chad agreed to be on Spicy Steve's stream, so they had one camera, and then Spinifer was a couple, and that organically felt like one camera. But even that was interesting. Like, I think the opening shot when they get to Devil's Manor, it was like, I was talking to Tanisha and Cam. I'm like, you guys are doing your own stream, but don't talk too loud because you don't want to be talking over them. So, you know, we had to kind of separate the characters relatively fast, so you don't have like necessarily have two camera coverage of, you know, 2 different streamers talking at the same time. But I think that helped limit it too, because if everyone's doing a stream, then it would have just been, can you imagine if you had 6 people all with phones talking? I mean, it'd be funny in a way, but yeah. And we did get some good shots. I feel like I think one of the best shots is when they show up at the airport, and then all 4 of them are on their phones doing their individual streams. Like, all talking over each other. But yeah, I think keeping it down to 4 characters and then making sure those characters divided up, which is also, isn't that kind of a general horror rule? You want, inevitably everyone has to get split up anyway. So I think that by playing in that horror trope, it also helped. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've seen it done slightly differently in places, because a lot of the time it doesn't necessarily make sense when they all split up.
yeah.
So it's good when you see it done well. I thought like bodies that
Yeah.
handled the whole thing really well. And I
Yeah.
think your one, Spencer Gets the Axe handles it well because they're doing the individual streams and then you get that kind of split. So I think it's good when it happens logically,
Yeah.
rather than it's just like, oh, I heard a noise upstairs. I'm gonna go upstairs and be like, wait, what are you? What? That makes no sense. Whereas
Yeah.
like, I'll go on my own into the dark. You're like, why wouldn't you go with your friend? Like, what are we doing here? So
Yeah.
when you see it done and there's a logic, you're like, boom, yeah, this makes sense. This is good.
We kept one thing to help with ours is that we really leaned into the prank stuff to not make these people too dumb. So if they're all like trying to impress followers and they're all used to pranking each other, then it's like pretty much the name of the game, especially with Chad, is how long can Chad believably think this is a prank? Because he's not necessarily supposed to be a genius. And we really stretched that as long as possible. We seeded the Benson brothers there. We seeded there's a prank war going on because the tone and the coverage of the movie changes once Chad realizes it's a prank. Even his coverage changes. Like it changes everything about the movie except the smartass comments. Those are always going to be there. But so we wanted to see how long we could keep him thinking it's a prank. And then when he did that, when he does realize, oh, I'm kind of screwed, it's like we had to figure out if it made sense for him to keep filming. And as a top influencer, I think it did. And I think we tried to, address that, but and I've seen, honestly, at this point, I think people's default mode is to film even when they're in danger. So I think that's okay. And then we really tried to make sure the flashlight, even though it's small, we would have him like turn his phone light off when he was running from the killer. Because we didn't want him to actively be seeking out or trying to take selfies with the killer or whatever. So it was keeping that that believable. He's still fighting for his life, but this is also the biggest moment of his life. So he wants that attention. He wants to get out of this alive and still have those 5 million viewers. He wants his cake and wants to have his cake and eat it too. And so that's kind of what we were doing with that to try to keep it believable enough.
Yeah, and I think the film coming out now, right, helps with that because I think everyone has seen ridiculous videos, right? The videos of people filming like a bear coming at them and being like, "Oh, look, there's a bear," and they'd be like, and you're just like, "Why didn't you run? What the fuck is wrong with you?" Or they're just about to crash a boat, and you're just like, "Why did you film?" And then other people filming someone get into an accident. It's just like you could have warned them, you could have helped. Like,
yeah, instead it's just it's crazy. And it's interesting because I feel like when the Blair Witch Project came out, which was, I loved it at the time, it still holds up pretty well. They had to continually justify, whoever the lead was, had to justify, like, I'm filming because I have nothing left and I have to do this and I have to film. And today, I don't, especially if it's a fucking influencer, I don't think you need to justify it as much. Like, I don't think we did have a scene, but I don't think he constantly has to be like, I'm filming because I have nothing left to get, like, I think it's like people's default mode is to film. And, I don't know if I film a bear coming at me, but when cool shit's happening, I am tempted to, like, my default mode is I need to document this experience or it didn't happen, like, so it is harder. Those comedy shows you go to where they make you lock your phone in the pouch, I got to confess, I get a little of that anxiety, like, oh, I can't document that I'm seeing Aziz Ansari. People don't know I'm cool, so I think it's kind of maybe but it's kind of seeped into everyone, and I'm part of it too.
Well, yeah, it is kind of crazy when you go places and everyone is filming, and it's just like, taking a few photos, a couple of videos is cool, but you see the people who ingested the whole concert or show or whatever behind their phone, and it's
Yeah.
just like, what what is happening now? Like, what is going on? It's kind of crazy the way, you know the phone has become like another limb.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, making a thing like this now, it's more believable, right? You're not like, no one's gonna do that, or because we know people want to go viral, right?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. I want to go viral, so they will film everything, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's everything has to be documented, and yeah, you get the. I didn't see the bear when my wife and I were in Hawaii. We saw someone literally almost end up going over a cliff because they were filming. And then if you want to get extra levels of irony, I guess I didn't film it, so maybe good for me, but I didn't necessarily like leap over the cliff to help them. And then someone, of course, came to save them. It wasn't too death defying, but they were really close to the edge. And
Oh,
this dude came to say, and of course, there's a third person, independent party, filming the dude saving them. So
yeah.
it's just like this content generation. Like they're trying to film content on the cliff. Whoops, we fell, and then someone comes to save, and then someone else is filming him saving them. So it's all just this circle of
Oh.
content constantly happening.
I mean, that is because, like, you go to the edge of the cliff to save someone, you could fall as well. That bit of the cliff could crumble. That
Yeah,
is so fucking like, yo.
it was. Yeah, it was
Ooh.
heroic. And I don't want to give a cliffhanger thing where they were like, "Hey, it wasn't
Yeah,
that,"
yeah.
but it was like they tripped. We're getting very close and weren't sure if they could get up. And yeah, someone came in, and then of course, a third person filmed it. And so that's yeah, that's kind of how things are. But
Mm.
at least we got really 6 stories on Instagram now, and lots of content.
Yeah, the amount of people who die taking selfies at edges of cliffs is kind of crazy.
But it's tempting. I don't know, man. When I get there, like I talk to you, like, yeah, Kevin, of course, that's crazy. And then I get to one, and I'm like, I can get a good picture. Like I can. It's. I have one on my Instagram from last year in Norway. I didn't hang my feet over the clip, but I'm like, well, got to get a good picture here. So it's I think phones, even without axe murderers chasing us, I think phones can help take us down. So yeah, there's dangers everywhere.
Oh man, my anxiety is too, because I just always, like, you just think, what if? Because sometimes, I'll trip over. I can be clumsy, so you just be like, that's gonna be the moment when, right? What if a big gust of wind blows? What if I sneeze and lose balance? So I'm just like, nah, I
Yeah.
ain't, I ain't getting close to that shit.
It's probably a pretty embarrassing obituary if you're like, I died taking a selfie at the Grand Canyon or whatever. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not the best.
yeah.
Uh, Now, with the film, right? So you're creating this thing and you're having these people do all of these different, like, just obnoxious things. But when you're writing and thinking of, like, what the characters will do and what the comments will be and all of this, what was the line you wanted to walk on that to be like, are we gonna be like super obnoxious, or are we gonna kind of try and pare it down a bit? Do we want huge laughs, or do we want people just to, like, that little chuckle, that grin, be like, oh yeah, 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 I know that kind of person. I've done that kind of thing. Like, how did you try and kind of conceive it in your head when you were thinking about all of this kind of stuff?
Well, it varies character to character. I think Chad, we started super obnoxious, and then the idea is as you get to know him more, you see there's kind of a method to his madness, and maybe feel bad for him. But Chad, we wanted to go in 100%, and I mean, he sees a pentagram where people were killed early on, and his instinct is, oh, I need to pee on this. Like that's the level.
Yeah.
Spicy Steve was a little more of a straight man, or but also kind of seeing Chad get these reactions, and that kind of informed him to want to, put a hat on a dead body, just kind of to get the audience. But we tried to keep his level down. What was interesting is we did in the opening scene with Spicy Steve, we shot it, and then we actually had to bring it down because Spicy Steve was a little too much of a Chad 2.0 in that. So we actually tried to bring down his obnoxiousness and make him a little more awkward to separate him from Chad. And then Jennifer is a little like, if there was a streamer to watch who like actually was legit, I feel like Jennifer is that one, and Tanisha did a great job with that. Maybe just because Tanisha's so likable, I don't know, but she really nailed that. And I think that character, I think, was, she shouldn't be filming, and she does give into the siren song of followers eventually, but at least her initial instincts are like, there's a body upstairs, all the cops are going to leave. You would hope most people that would be the instinct. And then like Spencer, I think, is just, the character was just in his own world. So it's figuring out that line. We didn't want 4 super obnoxious people. We wanted to kind of differentiate it. And there's only so long you can, I think, hang with a super obnoxious person before you are very actively rooting for them to get the axe. So we tried to balance it and not, go too over the top. Like, as over the top as we can make Chad with it still being believable. With, once again, kind of like you were saying with filming, that's a very easy line these days because people do the most ridiculous shit. So I think that's where we're at.
Okay. And when you're trying to work with the actors, did you give them streamers to follow or things to watch to be like, this is the kind of character we're looking for this person?
We discussed it with different people, and they did work too, because I'm old. I'm not as young as them. They are all Gen Z, so they know the people better than me. Like, I can reference someone, and I did do a lot of research. Like, I created it. That's why I got on TikTok initially and just started looking at all these different influencers and stars. And my wife's like, why are you following all these 20-year-olds on TikTok? This is creepy. And I'm like, well, no, it's research. I'm trying to like figure this out.
Okay, Travis, it's research, huh?
Yeah.
Really?
And dude, I'm looking for young, the most obnoxious ones, the most like, so it was I finally, I think, unfollowed some of them, but I got I think the low point was they have all kinds of live streams there too. And I didn't really quite understand TikTok at first. So the one I initially created, like, had my name or whatever in my Facebook page. And I'm like, oh, you can join different live chats. And I think I joined on accident, like either high schoolers or college people pre-gaming, like way too young. And I didn't realize there was like 18 people in the chat. They're like, yeah, no cap, bro. And they're using slang. I'm like writing down, this is great. And they're like, who's Travis Bible and why are they in the chat? Is he old? And I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I'm going to get arrested. So I signed out of that one pretty quick and learned, not to join live chats with only 15 people in them of minors. So that was educational. But anyway, Spencer especially looked into Spencer Levin, who played Chad. He dug really deep into Chad and looked at, several different influencers and, different, there's a lot out there. It wasn't, you got the Paul brothers, but also even someone like who's the opposite of Logan Paul, so like Mr. Beast is like, there's something interesting about him. So we kind of made it like a amalgamation of different influencers, and they looked. But ultimately, what was cool is they get it. Like, they, once again, like, if I think maybe actors of a certain age, it wouldn't be as instinctual to like all of a sudden live stream and film everything yourself like we did with them with the phones. And they nailed it, and they were so good. They understood, like addressing the phone directly, doing a live stream. Like they were so good with it. And when we did the rehearsals, I'd pay attention to what they were doing, and I'm like, try some improv here, and whatever worked, I would change the script to kind of reflect what they're doing, because they can. In the initial pass of the script, I wasn't quite as concerned with exact slang or whatever, because I'm like, these actors will tell me, and like Cam, who played Spencer and Spinifer, was like, no, don't say okay or whatever. He's like, you should say bet. I'm like, I don't know what that means. He's like, no, that means like cool. And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go bet. And yeah, trying to get it. And I think back to the Spencer, the actor who played Chad, his little brother was kind of my Gen Z expert. So I would ask him things because he was, still in college, and he's actually the one. He's like, I think there'd be more pervy stuff in the comments, like show feet. I'm like, I've never heard of that, but I love it. And that ended up in there. So yeah, they all did good. And I think we like another thing that the entire cast did super well was just being able to film themselves and handle these long takes. And it was challenging for them though, because they'd nail like this 4-minute take, and I'd pull them aside and, whatever, our little video village. I'm like, so that was great. And your performance was perfect. But, 2 minutes in, you need to pan up a little here to get the house in the background. And 3 minutes, 30 seconds in, I need you to do a quicker wipe. So they had to take camera directions as well as acting directions. And they rolled with it. But I'm sure that was, extra challenging to have to focus on your performance and be a cameraman at the same time. And they did good. And, our DP Rob Senska was amazing, but it was I could tell it was killing him half the time to not be able to just grab the phone and shoot it himself. But he powered through.
Did you do anything to the phones to get a better image? Did you add extra lenses, or is it just straight normal phones?
That's what's fun about it. We straight normal phones. We and they look so good. Like it's just I'll do an Apple commercial. We shot with the iPhone 13 Pro. We just bought 2 of those, and it just picked up things so well that it helped the DP out as well with lighting and stuff. We were able to get some kind of just organic light he would throw into like fake moonlight and stuff like that, and the camera would just pick it up, and it just naturally looked good. And honestly, we didn't want to play like Steven Soderbergh shoots badass stuff on phones and then makes it look like a cinema camera. That wasn't our goal. We wanted to keep it live stream. So that's kind of why we stayed away from Linda's stuff as well. And it was the colorist who I've worked with, also a super talented guy. He made a first pass at some of it and made it look more like a traditional movie, and it looked amazing. And once again, I feel like I'm just breaking hearts left and right with my DP being like, you can't use lights. And the colorist, he's like, but it looks good. I'm like, no, it looks great, but we need it to look like a live stream, like a phone. So he had to actually strip out some of the more fancy color correction and image correction he did. But yeah, I'm proud that we were able to shoot it just on a phone. We did have a sound guy. Our video village, what we did was we literally got an Apple TV and then streamed the phone directly to the Apple TV, so you could see what was on the phone. And that's how we watched it, because otherwise you had to like plug something in like USB-C and have an antenna, and that was too heavy. And so as long as you don't need, this is probably boring, but I'm going to tell you anyway, Kev, you don't need.
No, this is fascinating. Right. Like, there's watching it. I was wondering, how are you getting all of these shots? I'm like, did they use a drone? Like, what other things are they using? How are they doing it? Like, so this is great. I love this.
Great. So we had, Apple TV, and this is all from Brett Ullery, our sound guy. Also a guy I work with tons, but he kind of took it upon himself to be the video assist, the video guy as well. So he was amazing. And he was like, I think we can use Apple TV to do this, because we were literally a week before the shoot. We hadn't figured out how to watch it. For the short, it was short enough where we'd literally shoot it, then we'd sit and watch the phone together. And that would be the first time I've seen it. But this was just, we're trying to shoot, 90 pages in, 10 days. So we had to really get more on top of it. And so yeah, the Apple TV worked great. It doesn't need Wi-Fi. It syncs. It has its own network. And so at one point we're in the woods with a 200-foot extension cable to hook the Apple TV and a TV up to a generator, and we were able to get image like in the woods from an Apple TV with without any special hookup. And so yeah, that I thought that was a really cool thing. And we actually did a behind the scenes video we sent to Apple. They didn't respond much to it, but we thought it was cool that we were able to use their product so well. But yeah, I thought that was one of the more kind of techie, nerdy, but interesting things that we were able to get Video Village with just using the Apple TV. So that was cool.
That's fascinating. I haven't heard that before. Right. So I think, you know what I mean? You'd be changing the game here, Travis, right? There's a load of people that might go, oh shit, we could do that. That would save so much time. That would make things a lot easier.
Because it works. You don't, yeah, even if you didn't want to shoot a live stream style movie, but you did want to use your iPhone 13 or 14, whatever they have now, with special lenses, that could still work for your Video Village. So yeah, I think it was just, and the only thing we learned was that we had to have a power. It loses after like 100 feet or a couple hundred feet. It loses the signal. Right, so what we do is we would hide at different parts of the houses. We would run a stinger, put the Apple TV in the attic and just hide it. And then it would get perfect image, like even outside the house. And so as long as you kept the Apple TV within, a few hundred feet of where the cameras are, you were good to go. So yeah, it worked quite well.
Oh man. Yo, I think, the more you talk about that aspect of it, I think Apple will take notice, because that's like great publicity for them. That an actual feature film, because it was big when, back in the day with Gareth Edwards did Monster. And you like, oh, that was done on a Mac? What? You know what I mean? It was just crazy. So then, like, and I think you've seen people talk about short films that were made specifically with an iPhone and that kind of thing. So the more you find out you can do with this tech,
it's an amazing device. And actually, I had an old PMW from 2012, and I actually just sold it because I think if I'm either going to rent, and what I did another short with bigger, more expensive cameras, but if I'm doing like that mid-level thing, like I just use the iPhone. The iPhone looks amazing with cinema mode and stuff. So I guess I've been a convert for a while, but it's amazing what you can do now in your pocket as opposed to when I was in film school in the early mid 2000s. Like it just has changed so much. I remember trying to shoot on 16 millimeter or even the old school digital at the time, and like it's just it's amazing what the iPhone can do. So, although honestly, the main skill, Kevin, that I've noticed on vacations now is when people ask me to take pictures of them or videos of just random tourists, they're really happy with me because I actually take the time to get the shot or turn it into mode. And then my wife, there tends to be then they realize I'm like this dude who has nothing better to do. So there'll be a line of tourists being like, take a picture of me, use portrait. Like, so I take that extra time. If you're in Hawaii and want your good shot with the sunset in the background, I'll do it for you.
Hey, it's all about lining it up properly. That's what I feel. So yeah, that's a big one, man. That's a big one. But I think that is an interesting thing that you said as well, because it's just like the stuff that you learn in school to what we now deal with. I don't think, what I mean, people understand the leaps that have happened in a short period of time. There was a point, right, when you just think people had the car and the guy walking with the flag in front. So now there's driverless cars. It's crazy. And when you watch things like the first Wall Street, or I think it was like in Gremlins and some of those other old films, the mobile phone is like this briefcase motherfucking brick. And now you can make calls on your watch, which is just like, insane.
No, it's come so we don't want to get it, and then who knows what's going to happen with AI and stuff. So it's it's it's. I'm curious where we'll be 10 years from now.
But what do, because that is part of the whole writer strike and all of that kind of jazz. But what are your views on AI? Because people are like, AI is going to steal your jobs and it's going to be able to do this and it's going to be able to do that. Like, what do you think?
I mean, it's funny is that I keep, you picture Skynet and Terminator, and I keep
Yeah.
picturing like a Terminator T-1000 exoskeleton on a computer typing, and because like it's I think it could be a good tool. Like, first of all, I'm very, stand with WGA and SAG for sure. Like they're doing great work, and they have to make a stand, or the whole industry is just screwed. So I'm very much in support of the strike and behind them. But as it pertains to AI, yeah, it can be a great tool. But it actually, another podcast I did, the guy's like, do you think now you could have just told AI to come up with comments and saved yourself a bunch of time?
No.
I'm like, I wonder, like I bet it could have come up with some stock ones,
But see, this is the thing, right? And this is why I kind of asked this question, because, right, when you look at a lot of the AI stuff, it feels like it's something else. You know what I mean? Because it's ingesting a whole heap of certain songs, right? Or a whole heap of comedy or books to then give you this certain answer. And so I think to be able to get the variety of comments, I don't think AI can do that. Right? I think
yeah,
it can give you a generic thing for sure. You know what I mean? But I think it's like, when you're writing an essay and the people that have copied from somewhere else,
yeah,
right? Because you look at it and be like, that ain't your voice. Like, what the
yeah,
fuck is that? Ain't you? Right?
yeah.
And I think that's the thing with AI, that you can tell the difference between that and then someone writing something with just all of this nuance, right? All of these different, and especially with, Chad Gets the Axe, where you have 4 different personalities, right? So I don't think AI is going to be able to write something with a Chad, with a Spence, with a Jennifer, with a Spicy Stick. I don't think it's getting that. So I think, it could write, a generic friggin' I don't know, like maxi pad advert, right? A Dove
Yeah.
deodorant it could write those, because I mean, really, there's not much in those adverts, right? It could do an insurance advert, but I don't think it's at this moment in time. I don't think it's going to be able to write a great film, a
No,
great book.
I don't think so either. I think it's just regurgitating stuff, and I think there's just way. That's why you need writers to
Mm,
produce good content. I think my concern would be maybe if a writer like WGA can write something that's a 9 or a 10 and really good stuff, and AI in a couple of years can write stuff that's like a 3 or a 4. My concern, and that's why I'm so glad I'm so in support of the WGA, because this is important, that the studios might not care. They're like, well, we don't care. We can have AI write something it's pretty shitty, but people still watch, and we don't have to hire someone. That would be my concern. It could turn in kind of to the race to the bottom, where even though, like you said, AI is just putting generic stuff out, that they might not care at the end. Like, I mean, audiences will care, but that would be my concern, that they can, like, studios would be like, oh, we can get lower quality stuff and have AI do it.
oh,
But
yeah, no, I definitely feel that, right?
that
Because
one,
when you look at, and hey, if you like it, that's all good. I'm not trying to
yeah.
take
What
shots.
did you see the South Park episode, by the way, that was written by AI?
No.
Dude, it's something. It's bad, but also it's scary. It's kind of the thing I thought would exist in 10 years, and it's there now. They just wrote a prompt, write a South Park episode about the writer's strike. And then with voices that aren't spot on, but are relatively emulated, they created an entire South Park episode. And the scariest moment was I laughed once. Like they made a joke, like there's all kinds of jokes that make no sense, but then they actually made a joke that I laughed at. And it was like apparently completely AI written, just all based on this giant database of every South Park episode ever made. And that already exists. And so that's interesting that's where things are. But yeah, check it out sometime. It's crazy how the technology is already there where they can do that. And then they had the reporter, like right at episode, I don't remember what the report, like right at South Park episode with Kevin Jansen being a reporter, they scanned his face and then all of a sudden he was in the South Park episode. So it's crazy where things are going.
Scene. Like I do think, because there are those, films that get made that have a formula, right? When you think of Hallmark movies, right? Or just those Christmas movies that get just churned out, that it's just, someone doesn't believe in Christmas and they meet someone that really does, and then by the end they're convinced they've done a 180 and now they're all it. Like, I think it could write that, right? I think it could write those Hallmark movies, those Christmas movies, and it's not going to be great, but a lot of those aren't great. You know what I mean? So I think it could do that. So I definitely feel it's something that should be addressed, right? Because when you look at all these things that were never addressed, like data, you know what I mean? The fact that all our data is now owned by other people, because no one knew. No, like going into it, no one knew. So I think hitting these things now makes perfect sense, and you have to do it because it's not so much, and you said earlier, right? It's not so much the thing that is bad, but it's the way humans use it, right? And there's going to be people. It's when was it the Patriot Act? I think it was the Patriot Act, and Obama was just like, well, I'm not going to use it, and no one thought Obama would use it, but it's just like, but what about the next person or the person after that? Right. And that's always the thing, So I think it makes sense to address this shit now before, AI 0.10 comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of out of control. So yeah, hopefully they get a handle on all that. And and then we can, still have all our content.
Indeed. Yeah. It is kind of just crazy, all these different things, but tech, is it's allowed you to make a film with an iPhone, which is awesome.
No, that works for me. So I'm happy with the awesome cameras that you can get in your pocket now. So that's good. That's not the iPhone, at least not yet, isn't trying to write bad sitcoms or anything. So we're good.
yeah, that is that's the thing. Like, when you came to editing, like, how much of the film changed, or was it pretty much, do you think the story and everything was pretty much there, just a case of putting it together?
The actual footage stayed relatively the same. There's a couple things with that. Like, we had it, and what's funny is I was able to we had the co-editor Colby Doler on set already made a cut for me, handed that off, and within 2 to 3 weeks I had a cut of the movie, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. It's not easy because all the visual effects were missing, and all the comments were missing. So that's where we started diving in, and that's where we made the most changes. That's where we're like, okay, we need more, running commentary from people. We want to tell more stories in the comments. One thing I came up with I was pitching to Kimmerton. I'm like, what if we put faces in the end credits? What if we have everyone talking about it? And Kimmerton's like, we have to do that. So that was the whole thing in itself. We had to do some casting. We got some friends, but I love that part of the end. I think it makes the ending credits way more entertaining to see.
That was great. I love that thing, because you just think, there's always reaction videos or, you
Yeah.
know, the ending of blah, blah, blah explained. Oh, shit. Actually, that's a video you should do for the
Yeah.
film. The ending of Chad explained, and then
Yeah.
do your own one. That would be awesome. But yeah, no, so that it did make the credits a lot of fun with all of that stuff there.
We did, yeah, and we added the Benson brothers in. We did a casting for them, stuck them at the beginning as well, and it was hard to explain to these actors who were filling these bit parts what it was. But they're like, sure, they're like, so we're in the movie. When do we show up to set? I'm like, no, the movie's already kind of been shot. You're just gonna pop up and talk about it. And then we did, for the actual cut, we did do a bit of a focus group, especially among Gen Z, because that was my main concern. They would be inauthentic to them.
Mm.
And it tested pretty well with the people we watched, but they did have some insights that kind of helped me as a horror director on the scares and like letting moments go longer. Not There are several moments where we originally cut away to either jokes or like there's a part where Jennifer hears a sound under the
Oh,
pier,
mm.
which there's that awesome creepy shot right when it comes out of the
Yeah.
water. And
Yeah.
then initially Spencer calls and pitches another song about like a cat singing. It's kind of funny, but it like was completely undermining the tension. So we cut that out so you can just kind of stay with that creepy sound before your final scare. And so just that was kind of the main note we actually got from the Gen Z audience. It wasn't, oh, we don't believe these comments. That actually tracked well, which is great. It was make this scarier. And so with the color pass and extending some tension moments, that's what that was kind of one of the main changes we made in post to it. And then yeah, so that's kind of where we landed on all of that.
Okay. So, like, what was your horror exposure before the short and this movie?
Um, uh, it was a lot. Like I grew up watching horror films. I kind of think the best time to watch Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th is when you're like 5 or 6 years old, because then they're actually really scary. So I
Yeah,
watched
that was
all
it
that
was
stuff.
that was terrible for me,
You,
Travis.
you
That
didn't
that
like
it
it?
fucked me up. I there was an alleyway near my house. I ran past that alleyway for probably the next 10 or so years because of watching, and I didn't even watch the whole fucking film. It was one of those things where you're watching a bit and you're like, I'm scared, I need to move. Body, move. My body won't move. Fuck, fuck, fuck. And then someone turns the TV off. You're like, thank God. But now it's just in your head. Oh,
Was that so? Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that I had fun with them as a kid, and all the Night of the Living Dead stuff, and I was definitely into those. And you know, as I like Blair Witch, The Strangers. I don't watch every horror thing before shit, but I do like that horror and sci-fi. I'm kind of into, so those are two genres I do pay special attention to, and I always did like if you look at Chad, I always thought, even back in 2004 or five, and it would be interesting if I had shot this. It's like, what if we did something where reality TV star host went to a place that was kind of haunted, or did, that, and was tracked on his television show as he's being hunted down on reality TV. And, there's have you seen Grave Encounters?
no.
This dude, it's basically what I just said. So that was made in 2010. I'm like, all right, great movie. But it was a reality show, goes and shoots at an insane asylum, but it's actually haunted. They get locked in and then they're just filming it all together. But in any kind of found footage I have in it, like Paranormal Activity, I liked all those. So yeah, I would say I'm not like, they're definitely bigger horror fans than me, but I've always kind of liked that genre. And so I had an idea when I was going in Jack Gets the Axe of like, to make sure the scares landed. But what was interesting is I did do a breakdown watching some of these found footage things, and what the deal that we don't have, that whether it's Scream or Friday the 13th or just anything, Insidious, so let's do better one, Sinister, Um, all those, what they have going for them is they have a score with sound design. And what I realized in the short is I really had to, if I want a jump scare, I have to make it organic. So that made it harder. And so it's about like wood breaking or jumping or actually hearing the scream, or they can't, because you don't have a score as much to help you. That being said, that's one thing we did change in the feature. In the short, had no music. The feature, we put it out and it just wasn't tracking quite right. So we did go back and add a very subtle organic score into the feature that some people didn't even notice was there, which I take as a giant compliment because that's what the composer Brian Deming and I were working on, is making it just organic as possible. So the dude was the composer would drag an axe in his basement and make that a root sound and put that real sound in, and then slowly add layers on top of it until we had this hopefully very natural feeling score for Chad. Once again, I'm talking and going off on some paths there, Kevin.
No,
But yeah,
no,
that's,
no, no, no,
that's
no,
where
no, no.
we're.
That's
So
great.
yeah.
That's great because, right, and you wouldn't know this, but a pet peeve of mine is like mood music in films. I'm like, I want this. I feel the scene and dialogue should be enough to inform people of what's going on. Right.
Yeah.
I don't need music to tell me this is when I feel sad, or, oh, this is a happy moment. Now
Right.
I'm scared. Right. I don't need that. Right. So that was a big thing about this, that, you know what I mean? It was using the environment to tell you that kind of stuff. So I thought that was great. So hearing about creating this kind of, themic soundtrack, that's great. That's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it was fun, and like I'm so happy we got the right composer to put that together. So it's very cool what he did.
Like, what was the kind of briefing around that? Like, when you thought, let's try and do something, right? Did you have an idea, or did you just think, hey, here's a film, what do you think goes with this?
We we had an idea that we wanted it organic, and the co-producer I worked with on it, Patrick Reardon, he was actually the one really leading the charge of, like, because he was like, you should do a score. I'm like, no, dude, I'm thinking I'm thinking like Scream, I'm like Halloween, which, don't get me wrong, are fucking iconic scores, but not gonna fit for found footage. And he's like, no, well, what if you made it completely organic and subtle? And so he kind of sold me on it, and we were brainstorming. We're like, well, the axe is one sound and breathing is one sound and the crickets are one sound. So it's like, what Patrick and I are like, what could we do to extend that? And then we talked to the composer, and he initially watched the short and he's like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if you need me for this. The short works so well without any music. But then we showed him the feature and he's like, okay, I see, with 80 minutes, that's a little longer. And he got it. He was like, we told him we want everything to be based off organic sounds that are in-world sounds. So it starts off, was it diegetic and become non-diegetic? That was kind of the thing. So you start hearing the real axe, and then by the end, the axe is like this distorted drone that's not. And he, like I said, I knew he was the guy when he sent me a sample track. I'm like, this sounds great. What'd you do? And he's like, I got an axe and dragged it around my basement to get the core sound. And I'm like, all right, you get it. And so he did such a great job. And I think it's a very unique score, and it's kind of like editing or whatever you want to, it's like the invisible art. Like you don't necessarily bump on it when it's done right, but when it's done wrong. And he did such a good job that I think it does integrate just so organically into the film and doesn't destroy the found footage style we're going for with it. So
Yeah, no, for sure, man, for sure. And one thing I was wondering, right? Because I mean, your last feature film was in 2005.
oh
So it's just like, you know what I mean? Because, editorial producer wise, you work on big shows, right? So is that the reason we haven't had another feature from you in that time?
feature, like, look, Kevin, you can put IMDb, you can just submit whatever. So that feature was a thesis film that was not very good. So that was just kind of like a film school thing that's there. I think most people would consider this the first feature that
Right.
technically
Okay.
did. So yeah, that was not like but yes, I did get that aside. I did come out here and get involved pretty heavily in documentary and reality TV, and I do like it. And all I think it's a great genre, and I was kind of into that. I had some success and created a show for MTV and did some documentary stuff. And then, yeah, I kind of, well, I guess it's been 7 or 8 years at this point. I decided to get back into scripted more. And so I've been concentrating more energy on that. So that's what kind of brought me back to it because, it's important to, have I think there's a lot of people with film school who come out like, I'm a director in LA, and then there's not
Mm.
people lined up to be, oh, you're first time director from film school. Sure. Here's your $1 million. Shoot it. Like, that's not how it works. And so it's like figuring out how to do something you enjoy in the entertainment industry, which I really enjoy documentary reality stuff, but also now I've been able to kind of pivot a little more into scripted stuff. And yeah, I did a film, and besides Jack Gets the Axe, I think my most successful short was this sci-fi one called Exit Strategy that was just great. It was good validation. Like, okay, I can still do this. Played in Tribeca, won some awards, has quite a lot of views online and stuff. So that was a good, like, okay, you still got it. You can still do scripted stuff, and I've kind of been following more in that world lately.
Mm. Okay. All right. No, that's cool. That's cool. Like, yeah. Do you have any feature sci-fi plans?
Yeah, I'm I'm actually finishing up a script that has some time travel and some other elements in it. So
Ooh.
I'm into that, and hopefully it's I'm just not sure if there's as much space for the $5 to $15 million sci-fi film these days. Like, but I'm excited about the script and finishing that up, and then I have another horror type feature that's not found footage that I'm excited about too. So I got a couple things. Both I do like both those genres, and especially horror seems like it's a little easier to get made, and there's still a theatrical audience for that, which is cool. So
Mm.
I like both those genres, and I'm planning in the foreseeable future to kind of stick with this.
Okay. No, that's cool. I think, you know, I think there is an audience for the sci-fi. I think it's just all about the story. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, you create a good story. I mean, people will, because a load of people go, oh, if it's not a superhero, people don't want to mess with it. But I just think it's a case of story, right? If something is a great story and you let people know it's a great story, they'll fuck with it. It's
yeah,
just like sometimes the marketing for things is just all over the place, and you're just like, wait, what is this? Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, like I watched John Carter, and I thought that was a fun film. The marketing for John Carter was terrible. Like, it was
right.
terrible. So I can understand why no one really got it, but the film itself, I thought was great. So I think, yeah, just as long as people know what you're doing, you'll be golden.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. Yeah, so yeah, stories first, and then everything else. So
Mm. Like, what are your biggest like influences for sci-fi?
well, I love Looper by
Ah,
Brad John, and that
yeah.
was just a masterpiece, and I just think he did so well. And I love the scene where they're like, we could talk about the ins and outs of time travel all day, but we'll just talk in a circle. And you know what I mean? Like, let's move
Mm.
on. Like, I love that little hand waving because it's like, yeah, does it. And then, yeah, if we're going to talk sci, I mean, I think Back to the Future is one of the greatest films of all time. That
Yep,
is
yep.
so good. The musical, there's a Back to the Future musical. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Haven't
It,
I know it's, but I haven't seen it.
you know, that's a little more. My wife and I just saw it this summer. That's why it's on the. We happened to be in London and we checked it out. But it was that's a little different, but you know, the movie itself was I love that trilogy. I'm trying to think, like, there's just so many different filmmakers, and my thing I've been doing the last 5 years, honestly, is if I watch something and think a shot or something's cool, I'll actually just kind of tape it on my phone, put it in my collection just to see if there's inspiration I can get from that. Um, and what else? Like, yeah, I don't know. There's quite a lot of filmmakers, and I have trouble. You know, back in the day, it was all Quentin Tarantino. You know, who still makes amazing films, and yeah, but you know, and then more recently, it's been interesting watching kind of other movies in the same space as Chad Gets the Axe. Like Spree was cool.
Yes, I've actually because I was thinking of things because what you know when I review stuff, I always like to give people like a benchmark because it's just like you know because sometimes you watch something it doesn't quite work for you, but you go it's kind of similar to this. So if you enjoyed this, I think you would like that. So I was trying to think of the stuff that was kind of in the same vein as Chad Gets the Act, and Spree was one that came to mind, and Deadstream. Did you ever see?
Deadstream was great. Deadstream, I loved. It was so Evil Deady, and it was awesome. And I really liked that film. And actually, the filmmaker reached out to me on Twitter. We've been talking back and forth because it is our log lines are very similar, and I feel like we had the same assignment of like douchey influencer goes to haunted location. We just took it in completely
Mm,
different directions. But I really enjoyed Deadstream. And then you know, there's the whole screen life genre, which we kind of lean into your unfriended, searching, missing that type of film. Those
yeah,
are all I appreciate what's going on with all those as well. So that genre has been fun. I loved Hereditary and Midsummer or whatever. Those were awesome. Ari Aster's like super talented. Like those are not at all like Jagged's the Axe, but those are just really good horror films. And so yeah, I try to just kind of watch, but you know, it does seem like a lot of. I mean, I don't mind superhero movies. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it does seem like it's like the movies coming out, at least in theaters, are kind of like the Marvel big tentpoles, and then horror movies. And I'm more inclined to see, you know, what's it called, like Talk to Me than you know Ant Man, Quantum Mania, or whatever. You know, like I'm more seeing the horror movies and the more genre films than the bigger stuff. But that's
right.
just me. Everyone has, you know,
Mm.
there's an audience for it. So you know, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, I think I get sent a lot of horror films, which is interesting, right? There's I can't watch horrors at night. So I I have to plan my viewing very well because because I'm just like I cannot watch that at night, man. Because I remember watching one, I think it was the cleansing hour, which is great. I thought it was really good. But then I'm just like, what was that noise? What was that noise? I think that was a noise. What was that movement? And I was just like freaking myself out. And it's just like, not again. Can't do this shit again. So that was like just during the day. That's the only
It's
time
also
I
daylight
can.
outside in the park with the sun on you. Yeah, feeling safe. So
Mm. But yeah, sci-fi. Can watch sci-fi at night. That's fun.
yeah, that's a good yeah. And I don't think the sci-fi script I'm working on shouldn't be scary. So
Okay.
there's no axe murders in it. I can tell you that.
Awesome. Awesome. Though Event Horizon is one of my favorite sci-fi films. That
It's
was just awesome.
excellent, and the writer of that likes Chad Gets the Axe, so that
Oh
meant
shit.
it was the weirdest. Film Quest. This is super awesome. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt right now. It's this great festival in Utah. That's genre. That's where we had our premiere. And one of the filmmakers came up to me and was like, "I loved your film. And have you heard of Event Horizon?" I'm like, "Of course, I love that." And he's like, "Well, the writer really liked the short." And I'm like, "That's awesome. He's seeing that." Can I send him a link to the feature? And he really liked it. So that meant a lot to me that the writer of Event Horizon was digging Chad Gets the Axe. But yeah, no, that's a I need to rewatch it. It's been a while, but no, that was creepy and
Oh
fun. I
man.
loved it. So it's kind of a good combination. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, so I was hearing talk that they, it comes up every few years, a sequel and that kind of thing, and I'm just like, I hope they don't. Hope they don't.
Don't want them
It
to
just
ruin
works
it.
so
Yeah.
well on its own.
Yeah.
Mm. But I did recently just see there's a new Babylon 5 film just
Really
come out. Yes, an animated film.
interesting.
Mm.
I never dug that as much. I was more of a pure like. I didn't branch off into Babylon 5 or Deep.
Right.
What's the fish one? But I
Oh,
stayed.
Sequest DSV.
That
That was
insulting to Babylon 5. Sorry. Anyway, but
oh.
I stuck with your Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I was on all that, and then my wife got me back. I somehow missed Battlestar Galactica, and so she a couple of years ago was like, "You need to sit down and watch all this. This show's amazing," and it was that was great too. So yeah, all that's. Have you watched? There's a show For All Mankind on Apple that's done by Ron D. Moore. That's super cool.
Okay,
It's like
it's in my watch list. I haven't done it because I'm just because I just got sent through the episodes for season 2 of Invasion, so I'm just watching season 1 now. I think I've got 2 episodes left of
I
that.
need to check out. That's check that out too. That's on my. We finished Silo. Apple has some good sci-fi,
Mm.
sure. So we did Silo, and For All Mankind was great. So yeah, I think Invasion might be something worth checking out.
Okay, yeah, Invasion it's been a slow burn, but really interesting. Like, it's been really interesting, but it's kind of like this slow reveal of what's actually happening. But I do feel that the characters are acting how people would in those situations. So I'm digging it. I'm digging it so far. But
Nice.
I really loved Foundation. So I'm looking forward to getting into season 2 of that.
Okay, that's what I need because I season one didn't get great reviews, so I held off. But season two, they say it's kind of coming into it. And it sounds like you liked one, so
Mm.
maybe I'll check it out. Because yeah, there's not a lot. Yeah, especially with the strike. Anyway, there's not tons of stuff. So yeah, my wife and I are looking for what our next sci-fi binge is. So maybe we'll give Foundation a shot.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend Foundation season 1. Everyone has different tastes and all of that, but I really enjoyed it. It's dealing with I think it's 3 different kind of timelines, and it's just super compelling.
Okay.
I thought it was great, and I would definitely recommend getting into Babylon 5, my friend, because that
Okay.
was whoo, like season 1 is like the setup season. Like, you go around the whole the station, so you learn where just all the bits are. So then after that, you don't necessarily see that, but things can get referenced and you know what it is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It really, I think season 1's fine, but it finds its feet season 2 onwards.
All
And
right.
season 2, 3, and 4 are great. Season 5 is a bit because after every season it was just like it could get cancelled. So you felt
Right. So
in
they don't
season
know. Yeah, the
5,
story. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
But
Maybe I'll put Babylon 5 on the list and revisit that sometime.
yeah, that was a lot of. I'm hearing good things about some of these new Star Trek shows.
Oh, we're into Strange New Worlds is good. Picard season 3 made me happy. So
Okay, because
if you
I'm
like next gen, you
struggling with
have to
season
skip
2.
season 1 and 2 of Picard, but go to 3, and it was like I there's literally a point where I was tearing up with joy, which doesn't usually happen. That's how nerdy I like. My wife's like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I don't care that the crew's reunited. It's fine." But yeah. So if you're in the Next Generation, Picard season 3, Strange New Worlds is good. Lower Decks is fun. Yeah, I'm sitting here just plugging like Apple, Paramount Plus. But anyway, there is a lot of great sci-fi to check out, Kevin. So I would, yeah, if you're that, so there's some great Star Trek. Paramount Plus is, if you're into Star Trek, is totally worth it. So
Awesome, man. So yeah, I mean, we could, oh man, I could talk sci-fi with you all friggin' day. But yeah, Chad gets the axe, right? So you're the 1st of September, right? That's
Yes, VOD. Yeah, and if you don't mind putting a link under when you post, yeah, will be on all VOD platforms September 1st, available for rent and purchase. So yeah, I would really hope if you haven't seen it or seen it in a festival and want to revisit it, just give it a rent or buy, because we are a pure indie distributor. So anything helps, and yeah, that's my, I guess that's the biggest plug I can do. And hopefully it's interesting enough. So maybe it is worth, giving it a revisit just to look at the comments. So that's
yeah,
what we
yeah.
got
And
going for us.
will you be doing a DVD of it down the line or anything?
It's TBD. A surprising amount of people and festivals have been like, where's the DVD? And so if we think there's a market, we will, because we have some fun behind the scenes footage and stuff. So we'll see. We might end up doing the DVD. We're going to gauge the demand, but yeah, people are interested. I think we'll end up putting one out.
Okay. And would the short be a special feature?
I think so. I think that could be a good thing to put on the DVD as well. Or to undermine that completely, it's out there. And Alter and Dust, the
Oh,
Gunpowder,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they are actually releasing the short again to help in kind of conjunction with the feature. I think September 4th. So we're gonna kind of do a cross marketing with them to. So, but I can't. If you like the short, I can't imagine you will dislike the feature. So. And if you've seen the feature and you're curious what it looks like, where it came from, then yeah, the short's out there too.
Yeah, because that's the thing with these, because you watch the feature and you hear it's based on a short, and you always wonder, I wonder what was kept, what was changed, what evolved, just all of those kind of things. It's always intriguing to find out. So
It's
yeah.
interesting. And we wanted to make it fresh, but we did. There's a couple scares that worked well in the short, and it's my thing. I guess we ripped it off, but since I directed, I can rip off my own stuff. So we transplanted, I think, when he's under the sink, that is straight from the short. And you know what? It worked well in the short and it worked well in the feature. So we didn't need to enhance it, we enhanced it a little, but yeah, we tried to take the best parts of the short and incorporated them in the feature.
Nice. And when you going in, what was your biggest kind of worry and concern, right? And then once you were done, was that legit, or did other things kind of challenges and things come up?
Oh, with the feature?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, like the not so fun answer is COVID, honestly, because that's like that, just because that we were shooting during that, and that's I'm very just making sure it was a safe environment to shoot. I know that's the boring or the a little too real answer. But yeah, other than that, it was making sure the scares landed and making sure the characters were maybe not likable but watchable. Because I think we touched on it some, but it's like, we didn't want 4 super obnoxious characters. We wanted to make them, because people will just turn it on, you know what I mean? Like, it just, so that was it. And then, I think if I'd known, my main concern probably should have been the comments, but at the time we're like, nah, for some reason I just kind of lied to myself. Like, we're like, no, we did in the short, it'll be easier. And it was not easier. It was exponentially harder to do 82 minutes worth of comments than 10 minutes. So.
But this is all great insight for people that want to do something like that.
I would, we had a backup version that we were going to shoot with no budget. And as soon as I raised enough money just to pay the actors, I'm like, we can do this. And we were shopping around, and luckily we were super, we were able to team up with a production company and a very talented producer, Francis, who, actually we got real funding and we're able to shoot it. But, I think these days, with kind of like what we were talking about, okay, with the phones and stuff, like, there's no excuse if you're an indie filmmaker, like, you can shoot stuff, and
Mm.
there's no reason not to at least try, because you don't need millions of dollars for a camera. You don't have to buy film anymore. You can do a lot with iPhone and Adobe Premiere. So.
Yeah, man, it's great, and I think Chad Gets the Axe is a huge shining example of that. So yeah, I think people are going to definitely enjoy this one, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me on, Kevin. And yeah, I'll say one more time, September 1st, if you're listening to this, check it out on VOD, all platforms for rent and purchase. Chad Gets the Axe. You can follow us on Instagram, Chad Gets the Axe. We'll probably have a website. Maybe we'll create character accounts like you were talking about, Kevin, and take over the internet with Chad. But yeah, thanks so much.
No worries, man. And how can they follow you and the upcoming work and just anything else that you might have on the bubble?
For sure. I think it's the Travis Bible on Instagram. And I also have a Vimeo page too, which has some of my other shorts and stuff like that. So yeah, follow
Awesome.
me, and yeah, keep track. Yeah, this will be the big one for this year. But now I already have another proof of concept short that we shot that we're in post on right now. I'm super excited to get out to the world next year, and yeah.
Okay. Well, people, all the links will be on the website, so make sure you go hit that, follow Travis, the Instagram accounts. Did you want to pop your TikTok, Travis? Like
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you though.
Well, mark it down on your calendar, people. The 1st of September, Travis. So Chad Gets the Axe. I was going to say Travis Gets the Axe. So Chad Gets the
Yeah.
Axe, 1st of September. It's a great one. So make sure you go and support. Travis, thank you very much for your time, man. Really
Thank you.
appreciated it.
This was a really fun chat. I'm glad I'm glad we did the sci-fi tangent. It was fun.
Yeah, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Evan. Bye.
All right, man. Peace.